I kind of want to make a video talking about something real quick, which is that I typically some good lighting. I typically kind of advocate that you should do things that you're afraid of, and figure out what uncomfortable things are, what things you're afraid of, and go and do those next. And I kind of was thinking about it and realized that a big part of identifying what those things are is being honest, and being honest with others. But most importantly, and most difficult to do, is being honest with yourself. Um, Being honest with yourself about what you really want, and what's most important, what's most meaningful, and what things you're truly afraid of, and not just you're truly afraid of, and that are the most important and the most meaningful. Um, and there should of course be like purpose behind the actions, but then it's very important to kind of be honest with yourself, because if you are honest, then you can identify what you fear most, and kind of figure out what meaningful pieces of action come from that. Part of that is defining like what your true problems are, but then in other ways, like, you kind of know, or you have an idea of things that you want to do sometimes, and it's just important to go and do them. Another thing too is that like you can be honest about the work that you're putting in or not putting in. So many people might think that they're doing the things that they're afraid of or that are uncomfortable, and they're putting in work, when actually they're not, and they're just doing things that are kind of easy or doable, or like kind of bullshit things, but they're not the truly hard things or difficult things that they're afraid of, that if they did would kind of force them to have to grow as much and grow the most. And people know, like, you really know, then like you always kind of do like what you have to do next, or what you should do next, and what the logical thing to do next is. But then also a lot of the time the right thing to do isn't what that logical thing is, and it's what you're afraid of doing, and the uncomfortable thing to do. And I think it's better to do the wrong things and keep doing the wrong things, but be learning from them, and just not following any rules, but following like what you kind of feel from within. And that's why it's so important that you be honest with yourself. If you can be deeply honest with yourself, then you can identify those things that are often counterintuitive, but that you want to go and do. And it's about going and finding what things are you're most afraid of, and going and doing them next, and kind of also in problem solving and defining like the true problem, seeing what the true problems are, which are often not what you had thought they were, and are often something else completely. That's something to consider. That's yeah, that applies for my own situation, but I think all those things go together. Finding what your true problem is, finding what your deepest fears are, or the kind of deep fears or deep uncomfortable things that you aren't doing right now that you kind of should be, or that you want to do next on some level, and then taking action and going and doing those things. Doing all that helps. First principles reasoning first from, these are the principles and these are the things that I absolutely know for sure. That helps too. But with the first principles reasoning and with the problem solving, those are like abstract things, and those are kind of thinking based. So you only want to do those like a little bit, but then not dwell on them too long. Like, kind of identify what you need to do, and then put down all the books, or stop thinking, and then kind of know what you need to do next, and then go and do it. That's kind of important. But yeah, all of these things kind of go together. And at the end of it, I think it is being honest with yourself. If you're a person that does things continually that they're afraid of and continues to try to work to grow as a person and grow as who they are, that kind of takes doing uncomfortable things, but it takes being pretty in touch with like your inner self and your essence, and it means regularly having to break out of patterns that you're in, and like the kind of daily autopilot that you're in, and kind of regularly having to shift and change that and break that. That's like pretty uncomfortable to do, but you can actually do that at like fairly rapid rate and progress better than you would think. um, it's just it's something to consider, and it's an important thing I think that happens or needs to happen, to figure out what those things are that you would have to do next, and go do them. And remember also that your true problem isn't what you always think it is, and that at the end of it all, it's kind of doing things that you fear as well. So yeah.